How's it going, everyone? It's David here. Welcome back to a brand new video here on the channel, and today we will be discussing a little bit of a different kind of video. We will be talking about the brand new Mario baseball game that has been heavily rumored and leaked over the past year. Today I will be predicting the main selling point of this game, the reason why it's so notorious in the gaming community, the characters. This game has the most playable characters ever in a Mario game, prior to Mario Kart Tour. There are over 75 characters in this roster. Keep in mind this game released over 15 years ago, the last entry, so there have been so many new and unique additions to the Mario franchise of characters in those 15 years, so I'm so interested to see what new additions will be added, what characters will be removed and replaced by newer ones that we love and enjoy in this modern era. So, without further ado, let's get started by talking about our team captains. So here's the roster mock-up I've created. I really love how it turned out. I spent way too much time on it to make it look this good. So on the top row, we've got the first half of our team captains. In previous Mario baseball games, we have had 12 captains. I made it 16 instead of the original 12, mainly just because of the addition of so many new and unique characters in the Mario franchise that have such big roles nowadays, and I think that they should be team captains. So on the first row, we've got Mario, Luigi, Peach, Daisy, Wario, Waluigi, and then we've got two new characters, Rosalina and Pauline. Now, these 8 characters deserve to be captains. I mean, Pauline's kind of debatable to be a team captain, and she's gotten so much popularity and has gained such a huge fan base ever since Super Mario Odyssey in 2017, where she basically was reborn. Now, I don't think any of these characters will really get alternate costumes, but if they really do want to, I could probably see Mario getting Metal Mario or Peach getting Peachette, something along those lines. For the most part, I think it'll just be recolors. Next up, we've got our second row of team captains, mainly the side characters that you don't really get to play as in Mario games. Here, we've got Toad, Toadette, Yoshi, Birdo, Donkey Kong, Diddy Kong, Bowser, and Bowser Jr. So, two new captains on this row are obviously Toad and Toadette. Now, surprisingly, we've never actually had Toad or Toadette as captains in previous Mario baseball games, mainly because Toads are mainly kind of like in the gray area between a main captain kind of character and a side character. It's a very gray area, and that was sort of the same situation with Mario Strikers. In the latest entry in Mario Strikers, Toad got bumped up to be a main character, mainly because they got rid of the side characters, so I think Toad will also be a captain in this game, along with Toadette as well. Now, these other characters were previously captains in the 2 Mario baseball games prior to this, on the GameCube and Wii, so I really don't have any real arguments to why they would be added as captains, but this row does have some of the characters that I believe will have alternate costumes. Specifically, Toad, Yoshi, and Birdo, I believe, will have alternate costumes. For Toad, I think we will be getting a normal red Toad, yellow, green, blue, purple, and maybe a Captain Toad. Now, for Yoshi and Birdo, basically the same thing: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, light blue, purple, pink, black, and white. Now, here's where we start to get kind of into the more obscure area. So on the third row, we've got Baby Mario, Baby Luigi, Baby Wario, Baby Peach, Baby Daisy, Baby Rosalina, Funky Kong, and Dixie Kong. Now, the two new characters on this row are Baby Wario and Baby Rosalina, which, in the latest entry, Baby Wario was a character, but instead they went with Baby Donkey Kong instead of Baby Wario for some reason, and Baby Rosalina was created as a new character in Mario Kart 8 on the Wii U, so she hasn't been able to be in one of the games, mainly because she wasn't created in the last iteration. This next row is crazy. On this row, we've got Pianta, Noki, Luma, Sprixie, Nabbit, Cappy, Plessy, and Tuxie the Penguin. Now, out of all the characters on this row, only 2 of them were in previous games, being Pianta and Noki. it's so crazy to me how we've gotten so many brand new, unique additions to the Mario franchise, and I'm so happy that we're getting unique, original characters introduced to the Mario franchise. It's a great thing, and they're so amazing. For Luma, I think it's very, very, very likely that we will be getting Luma. I mean, if we're getting Rosalina, we're gonna get Luma, but Luma is a mainstay, and I really don't see Luma not happening in this next entry. For Sprixie was introduced in Super Mario 3D World. Sprixie is just such an underrated character. She was playable in Mario Tennis Ultra Smash. We do not speak of that game, but she was playable, and she hasn't been playable since in any other Mario game, so I think that it would be great to include her and kind of bring her back into the modern Mario games. On the other hand, Nabbit has been getting so much recognition recently. Nabbit was added as his first playable role a year later in 2013 in New Super Luigi U, and then also got added as a playable character in Mario Golf on the 3DS as DLC, and then he was added in Mario and Sonic at the 2016 Olympics on 3DS and Wii U, kind of out of relevance for a little while until Mario Kart Tour released. So I think Nabbit has a lot going for him, and I feel like he'd be perfect in this game. He could use his little sack as a baseball bat, and I think that'd be really cute, and I think it would be really cool to have him in addition to these other characters. Cappy has actually not been featured ever since Super Mario Odyssey in a Mario game. Like, he's really kind of died off. I don't understand why they haven't referenced him more in any other Mario game since, but I think he'll be playable in this game. Next up, we've got Plessie. Now, Plessie is kind of in the same boat as Cappy. I mean, he debuted in Mario 3D World and really never got the light of day. I mean, we still haven't seen him return in any Mario game. He's just so cool, and I would love to see him as a playable character in this game. And finally, we've got Tuxie the Penguin. Arguably one of the most neglected Mario characters of all time. He's never been playable in a single spin-off game ever since his debut in Mario 64. He's never been playable, and he's always been on the sidelines. Like, he represents the penguins as a species. It makes sense for him to be playable in at least one Mario game. I don't understand why they haven't made him playable at all, ever. So I think it would be great for him to be added as a playable character in this game. Pianta will get the red, yellow, green, blue, purple, and brown variations, as we've always had. Noki will get the red, yellow, green, and blue variations, also as he's always had. Luma will get the red variation, the Co-Star Luma, normal Luma, which is like a yellow, and then green, blue, purple, the Cosmic Luma, and Baby Luma, which is basically like a white and a black variant. Now, this next row is basically filled up by just the Koopalings and then Kamek. Now, the Koopalings are all unique characters in my opinion. They all deserve their own spot in Mario Kart and all the other spin-offs. I don't like really how they've been only including like 4 of them in like the Mario and Sonic games recently. Like, I don't like how they've been cutting out the rest, but only including like 3 or 4. But nevertheless, they're all here, and they all have their own stats, but I don't think they'll get any color variations. I really do think that the Koopalings deserve their spots in the modern Mario franchise, as in the spin-off games as their own characters. I really love how they all have their own unique personality and design. I love how they're all each represent like a different kind of color. I think that's really cool, and I am so excited to see them in the next Mario baseball game, because they'd be so cool to play as, and I'm really excited to see them. So moving on to talk about Kamek a little bit, he was in the last 2 entries listed as Magic Koopa, which, it's Kamek. You can't tell me it's not Kamek. We're gonna call him Kamek. He actually had all of his color variations in the previous ones, and I think they're even gonna add maybe 1 or 2 more this time. I think we'll be getting red, yellow, green, blue, maybe even a purple one to reference Camilla, and I think that'd be really cool to have all of them back. Now, this next row is a lot more diverse compared to the last row. We've got only 3 characters returning from the last game, and the rest are completely new. Those being Boom Boom, Pom Pom, King Boo, Petey Piranha, King Bob-omb, Chargin' Chuck, Honey Queen, and Wiggler. Now, the 3 characters that were previously in this series were King Boo, Petey Piranha, and Wiggler, if you guys didn't know. But these characters have been really getting a lot more popular recently. Boom Boom was playable in, I think, just Mario Tennis Aces, and he's been a goalkeeper in every Mario sports game since his reimagined debut in 3D World, or 3D Land in 2011, and Pom Pom was playable, I think, in just Super Mario Party, but she's also been a goalkeeper and been in all the Mario sports games since, and I think it just makes sense for them to be playable in the next Mario baseball game. Now, King Boo, Petey Piranha, and Wiggler were all staples in the series ever since the original, and I really don't see anything changing about them. They're all completely unique and represent the kings of their respective species. Other than Wiggler, Wiggler's mainly just a character in his own right. But overall, they all deserve their spots on the roster, so that's why they're still included. Now, finally, for the other 3 new characters on this row, we've got King Bob-omb, Chargin' Chuck, and Honey Queen. Now, King Bob-omb and Chargin' Chuck made their playable debuts in Mario Kart Tour and Mario Golf Super Rush. I think King Bob-omb was in Mario Kart Tour first, and then later appeared in Mario Golf Super Rush. And then for Chargin' Chuck, I think it was the other way around, where he was in Mario Golf Super Rush, and then a few months later he got added to Mario Kart Tour, which is very funny how they both played a huge role in the main story in Mario Golf Super Rush, and then they both got added into Tour for their second playable debut / first playable debut. They also represent the Bob-omb species, and Chargin' Chuck is just like Wiggler. He's a character in his own right, and he's really cool. He got reimagined in 3D World once again. Like, a lot of these characters got reimagined in 3D World. Like, it's crazy to think about. But Chargin' Chuck is a football player, and he really just fits well in all the Mario sports games, so that's why we decided to include him. And as for Honey Queen, she really wasn't, and still isn't really a main character in the Mario franchise, but she was playable in Mario Kart 7, and replaced Waluigi for some reason no one will ever know. I think people said he's too scary or something, but we all know Waluigi is not too scary. Main point is, Honey Queen was I think it was kind of like a hero kind of side character in Mario Galaxy 1 and 2, and then she later appeared in Mario Kart 7 as a playable character and hasn't been seen since. So, let's bring her back from the dead, and let's make her playable again. Plus, I mean, she's just a cool character. I mean, she's a giant bee. Why wouldn't you want to play as a giant bee in a Mario game? The only real color variation I could see on this row would go to Wiggler with his angry variation, but that will probably just be an animation like it was in the previous games. This next row kind of just refreshes the other kind of side characters that we've had in the previous Mario sports games or Mario baseball games. We've got Koopa Troopa, Koopa Paratroopa, Goomba, Paragoomba, Shy Guy, Fly Guy, Monty Mole, and Rocky Wrench. And the only 2 characters that are new on this row are Fly Guy and Rocky Wrench, mainly just because I think that Shy Guy and Monty Mole needed their partners in their flying form, even though Rocky Wrench is not really their flying form. I mean, it's the closest thing to a Monty Mole partner as I could get, so that's why. I really do think that if we're going to have Koopa Paratroopa and Paragoomba, Fly Guy just makes sense. I mean, it's representing the flying Shy Guys. And plus, I think Fly Guy was, like, playable in one of the Mario Tennis games. I'm not really sure, but I know he's been playable before, and I think he'd be really cool to put alongside Paragoomba and Paratroopa. And Rocky Wrench kind of made a debut as a Mii suit in Mario Kart Tour. I know it's not really a playable debut, but the fact that they made a Mii suit of Rocky Wrench and not Monty Mole, as upsetting as it is for me personally, I think it's great how they're making Rocky Wrench playable in some fashion. I think the ults that we can expect on this row are mainly just for Koopa Troopa and Koopa Paratroopa with red, yellow, green, blue, and purple variations for them. And as for Shy Guy, I think we can get red, orange, yellow, green, light blue, dark blue, purple, pink, black, and white Shy Guys and Fly Guys as well. Sadly, I don't think Monimo or Rocky Wrench will get any alts. And with this last row, the roster is complete. On this row, we've got Hammer Bro, Dry Bones, Boo, Piranha Plant, Blooper, Cheep Cheep, Spike, and Lakitu, making about half of them returning and half of them brand new. The brand new ones being Piranha Plant, Cheep Cheep, Spike, and Lakitu. And I think all these 4 characters represent such huge characters in the Mario franchise. Piranha Plant, it's like King Boo is the PD Piranha as Boo is the Piranha Plant. I think it just makes sense that we include both of them. And Piranha Plant also became playable in 2 games with Mario Tennis Aces with Fire Piranha Plant, and he was also playable in Smash. So the fact that he got playable in Smash just says it all. I think that basically just confirms he'll be in every spin-off game from now on. As for Cheep Cheep, Spike, and Lakitu, Spike and Lakitu have been getting some playable, they've been getting playable roles recently. I mean, Spike was in Mario Tennis Aces, and Lakitu is a Mario Kart staple nowadays, so I really think that they are guaranteed to be added to this roster. And for the WTF character in this game, we've got Cheep Cheep. Don't tell me that he can't be playable because he doesn't have arms, because there are many other references in this roster of characters that do not have arms yet are still playable. Wiggler. So I know for a fact that it would be hilarious if they added Cheep Cheep as a playable character. It just makes sense. I mean, he could use his wing as a bat, and it's just hilarious. I mean, you can't really say anything else about it other than why, and that's the exact reason why I included him. As for the alts on this row, for Hammer Bro, I think we'll be getting Hammer, Boomerang, Fire, and Ice Bro, and maybe even Gold Bro from New Super Mario Bros. 2, but I definitely think Hammer, Fire, Boomerang, and Ice will all be there like they were in Mario Kart Tour. Now, Dry Bones will also probably get some alts returning from the previous Mario baseball games, but I don't really know why he has ults, but I guess he has ults anyway. Just like Koopa, he'd probably have a red, yellow, green, purple, and Dark Bones colors. And Dark Bones is actually kind of cool. I don't understand why he hasn't been featured in any other games. He's really cool. I like his design, so I'd be happy to see Dark Bones return, as well as the other colors for Dry Bones. For Piranha Plant, I really only see Fire Piranha Plant and maybe an Ink Piranha Plant being added. I mean, those are the only real ults that we've gotten in the Mario franchise for the different types of Piranha Plants. I guess there are others that you could pull from, but at the top of my head, I think that the only 2 are really Fire and Ink Piranha Plants. For Cheep Cheep, I think we'll be getting red, yellow, green, and purple colors for Cheep Cheep. Now, purple is referencing the bigger Cheep Cheep. It's not Porky Puffer, it's like the one from Mario Bros. DS that swallowed you. I don't remember what it's called, but it's a really big purple Cheep Cheep, and I think it would be really cool to have it as one. Now, for Spike, the only real color variation that we've got currently is Stone Spike, and I think there was a Snow Spike, but other than those 2, there aren't really any other colors to choose from. But just like with Dry Bones, I think that they could potentially make a red, yellow, and purple alt for Spike, and I think that'd be pretty cool to have him as well. And finally, for Lakitu, I think we will be definitely getting his red and yellow variations, but same with Spike and Dry Bones, they could pull any other colors that they want to give to him, like yellow, blue, purple. It's endless. The possibilities are endless. You can never really predict anything with Nintendo, which is mainly why I wanted to make this video, because if by some crazy idea that any of these predictions are right, then that would be really interesting to know that I actually predicted some of these. But nevertheless, it's always fun to predict characters for Nintendo games, because you never know what they're gonna do. It'll almost never 100% be perfect unless you have insider info, but obviously I don't, and I think this will be a pretty amazing roster if this does happen. Now, this is the final roster, but the way that they'll release these characters, I'm not really sure about. They will most likely do it in free updates, but I hope and pray that they will stop doing the free updates, and maybe they'll just have the alts as free updates and the base roster when you first get the game. Like, I want Nintendo to go back to their old ways where you actually have to unlock stuff and you don't just wait for them to release them. I mean, it's just not fun. There's no real replayability in these games anymore because there's no incentive to play through or unlock anything. So, fingers crossed that they won't release the game unfinished, and they'll have the base roster when it releases. It doesn't even have to be this huge of a roster. Just give us a decently sized roster that's not unfinished, if you know what I mean. With all that out of the way, thank you all so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. I'm gonna start doing some more of these Mario spin-off game videos rather than just Mario Kart Tour, because to be fair, my tour content really isn't going anywhere. I mean, I love tour. I'm not saying I'm gonna stop making tour content, but I really think that my channel really needs to get a change of pace. So I think this is a really cool and unique way to go about it. So if you like this content, make sure to subscribe and comment below if you really liked it. And I'll talk to you guys next time. Take care. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.